Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. This is the SMI community call that happens every other week. We are at Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. We've got a few discussion items, so we'll just jump right in. Does anyone have any announcements? There are none listed in the agenda at the moment.
I didn't write it down. I was about to, but the KubeCon schedule has come out, which means that very soon the KubeCon community meetings will start to be created. I know that Lee has organized the SMI community meeting for various KubeCon online events, and we'll probably want to talk about an in-person and or online version of the SMI community meeting for KubeCon coming up in October. And I will take a note of that.
Thanks. Great. And for discussion items, we just have two. Nivendu, I will hand it off to you.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. So if you don't know me, I've been in this call a couple of times, but I have been more of a passive observer. So I'm Navendu, I maintain Meshery. So I'm here today to give a brief recap on what happened in the last meeting and to possibly get a few volunteers to try out the SMI conformance action. So I just okay, could you let me screen share?
Sure. Let's just edit that. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so last week a couple of folks from Layerify demoed how you can use Meshery to run SMI conformance test. So basically Meshery has three methods that lets you run SMI conformance test. We have been working on a GitHub action that you can add directly into your CI/CD workflows that can run SMI conformance test. So a potential user for this would be service mesh developers. So they can just use this action in their workflow and run and validate their service mesh with SMI. And we also have Meshery. So it has a nice UI that lets you run SMI conformance test. So what I would like to ask is we would like someone to help us improve the current state of the SMI conformance test. So we haven't really got anyone from outside our organization to come out and test it. So the SMI team or the people in this call would be the best people to come out and test it out. And yeah, so if someone is interested, so someone would like to volunteer, we would be happy to schedule a session to help you get set up and run SMI conformance test, and possibly you could give us some feedback that and yeah, and we can improve on it. So that's basically it. That's what I would like to talk about. And then if someone would like to volunteer, please reach out to me in the SMI Slack. I just posted a message there and you can just reply to it possibly. And if anyone who is on this call would like to volunteer, please let me know right away. So or should I just go ahead and ask you to do it?
Yeah, this sounds really convenient. I love that it's a GitHub action because then we can just put in our CI and that's like really nice. I know for SMI, if there's not a GitHub, I mean, for OSM, if there's not a GitHub issue, we probably won't do it. So if there is not already a GitHub issue, you're welcome to open one, or if you want me to, I can open one. And then we can try to see if there's some folks who want to help with that, or if I have some time, I can do that too.
For sure. So if you could open it, then it would be great. Like we would like,
Okay.
we would be happy to help someone out who is on the OSM team. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Anyone else like to volunteer or come help us out? Oh, all right then.
Okay, thank you so much, Namandu. And yeah, folks should definitely check it out. And it seems like y'all have made it easy for us to do so. So I'm excited to see, to take for a spin. Okay, moving forward, I'm on the agenda. So I was out for about like over a month, getting married and honeymoon, but I'm back now. And I went through the PRQ and just reviewed a few PRs. I think my focus is going to be trying to get traffic split out of alpha to beta. So there's a few things that we need to do. The first one is there's just some verbiage around what a route service is in the traffic split spec. So there's a PR out for that that aims to clarify it. If you're interested, you should go check that out. But we basically first went on the route of making the route like clarifying that the route service has to be a fully qualified domain name, but that doesn't make sense in all scenarios. And Nick Jackson actually has a really good summary of that. It's like one of the last comments. So I'm actually for what he suggested, which is making the service, defining the route service as just an addressable name that the service mesh can access, and leaving it pretty open. So check that out. I'm going to drop the link to that issue in the chat. And then the other thing is there was something around match conditions that was a little unclear to me. That issue is 218. Two things came out of that issue. Where validated that we can make the API a little bit better to support multiple matches or match conditions. If you want more info on that, just go read the issue and feel free to ping me if you want any explanation of things. But yeah, so there's two things that came out of that. One, we do need to make like the actual spec a little bit better and change it up a little bit. And then the second thing was there's this desire from folks that you may want to define multiple like split scenarios. So for one route service and one traffic split object. So right now you can say, hey, I want all traffic going to this service, match some HTTP criteria if you want as of V1 alpha 3 and 4. And then that set of traffic should go to whatever set of backends, and like you'll have one set of backends, like you can have any number of backend services that traffic will go to. But in reality, you might have your match conditions might be a little different for different backends that you want to send your traffic to. So say you want like traffic going to route service A be split amongst traffic going to route service A with a certain header be split amongst service B and C, but you want traffic split going to that same route service with a different header being split amongst like service D and E. Well, you have to have two different traffic split resources to define that. And sometimes it's easier to think about that all in like one resource, one spec file. So that's just one option we can go towards. And I was initially, before I went on vacation and stuff, initially I was for like merging everything into one resource, all of that information. But I realized that's like a really big change to traffic split. And what might be better is just pushing out what we have with like small modifications to beta and then V1 and releasing that. And then if we want to do this, we can do this like later on in like a V2 of traffic split. So that's how I'm thinking about it. I'll update the issue. And if we want to work on that, if there's, if there's a desire for that in V1, we can talk about that. But I'm going to split up the issue and document that and just make the initial change from that issue, which is clarifying match conditions.
I think the only thing I would add to that is just
Yeah.
making sure that there's clarity around like when merging multiple definitions together of like how those are resolved, and if like there's any like overlap in terms of where traffic might be defined to be sent to part of a split in one and then a different part in another, like how those are compiled together.
Yeah. Right now it's like up to the implementation to figure that
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Maybe like it's fine for now, but it's like something to like pay attention to in V2, or if we avoid the problem entirely by merging them into a single definition or something like that.
Do you think it'd be helpful to have that kind of clarity in the spec as it is now, like in the scenario where you have multiple traffic splits for one route service? Like, do you think that that's kind of overstepping the spec boundary, or do you think that like as an implementation writer, like that might be something that we need? Because it'd be really helpful from an OSM perspective, I know, but I'm wondering.
Yeah. I think that right now it would be like too substantial a change to try to impose something that may or may not be reflected in different implementations. But for like a V2 of traffic split, I think it would be important to kind of like define what is or is not explicitly in scope there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Cool.
I'm going to be that person. Can you open an issue for that as something we can like track for V2 of traffic split?
Yeah, I can do that.
Much.
Sounds good.
Cool. Yeah, that's all I had. Any thoughts? Anybody else have any thoughts? Okay. Our next community meeting is in 2 weeks on August 18th. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up? We don't have any other discussion items, but if you're new to the community, you're welcome to introduce yourself, or if you have any questions or want an update on something, feel free to ask now. Okay. I think that's it. I think this is the shortest SMI meeting I've ever been to. So, cool. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.